Hey, Kayla, good morning.
Oh, good morning. Just getting my camera on.
Problem.
I'm surprised we are the only ones in here.
Yeah, sometimes people show up late, but it is a little concerning that like literally nobody has logged on yet.
Yes, I resent the link too, just in case to
Okay, no
say
problem.
good
Just,
morning.
just hang out and wait.
Yeah, let me see. I'm
Can
gonna
you
make
see my
sure.
screen?
Yes, I can. It looks good.
All right, good. All
Mm.
right, we'll just hang out and wait. And you said
Yeah.
there's like 20 something people?
There are, I said give or take, there's 17.
17. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure
So
exactly.
hopefully we'll get like 17. Hopefully we'll get like 10 to 12 then.
Yeah, it usually gets, lately it's been pretty close. It's only usually one or two people,
Getting
but
almost everybody. All right,
yeah.
awesome.
But I'm not sure. I'm just making sure that all the links are the same,
Okay.
just in case people are somewhere else. Let me see.
Oh, you did, okay. Okay. Yeah, that'll come to me for approval, yeah, so then what happens, and the professional development. Yes. Yes, on the forms, yeah, but, what about no, no, you just, it's gonna ask you for like 5 things instead of the like students and there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
See what happens.
No. Yeah, whatever comes up that you think, if you need help with that. She's got the order, I gotta talk to her. Right now, we're in March to do this financial report that are due today. Okay, that makes it okay. Yeah, I don't know where she is with that, but when she went on vacation, she sent me the templates for all.
Yeah, everything looks good, so
All right, cool. Yeah, it looks like someone just logged on. So
perfect.
I usually give folks like 5 minutes to log on.
All right, awesome. Then that's no problem. Just look to make sure.
Lot. All right. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Okay, good morning for those of you that have logged on. It's just a little bit past 9 a.m. I'm going to give folks a few more minutes to log on so we can figure we can start around 9:05 or so. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Ree. There we go.
Okay, Kayla, I think we can go ahead and get started. It is 9:05.
All right, perfect.
Thank you for those of you that have joined us for your patience. We're set for a 9 a.m. start, but oftentimes we find people have technical difficulties with logging on. So I like to give a little bit of a few minutes of buffer time so people can log on, and we might find that people log on throughout the presentation, and that's perfectly fine too. So, Kayla, did you want to open with some words? Or you want me to go ahead and get started?
I just want to say good morning. I'll be here for any questions, or if people have questions that they want to put in the chat, I'll make sure that you see them and they get answered as we go, so you don't have to wait until the end or anything like that. But otherwise, we're
Perfect.
good to go.
Thank you, Kayla. So I'm joined today by my colleague, Kayla Montez. So you have all signed up for a workshop about seasonal businesses. We do have the time set aside until 10:30. We do have a relatively small group, so I don't think we will go anywhere near that long. However, I do have this time carved out in my day. So if anybody wants to stay on after we conclude the workshop, I'll be happy to stay with you and answer any questions or concerns you might have. So a little bit about who we are. We are the Long Island Small Business Development Center, and we're hosted by Stony Brook University. We are a joint venture between the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration, which is a federal agency dedicated to furthering the success of small businesses, and State University of New York. So we're funded from both sources to provide technical assistance to small businesses, which includes at the very core of what we do are one-on-one counseling with entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs. We also offer workshops such as the ones we're having this morning, and offer all other host of other types of resources for the small business community. Our services come at no cost. We are funded by governmental agencies, so your tax dollars pay for our existence. So please feel free to utilize us, whether it comes in terms of coming to the workshops like this or signing up to become a client and meeting with business advisor, whether it's myself or one of my colleagues. I also wanted to make everybody aware about an event that we have coming up. We have an event on April 8th. It will be running from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's called the Start Smart, Ask the Experts panel. This is a free event, and it will essentially have a number of different experts from the banking community, the accounting community, the AI community, marketing sales community, to answer any questions that might exist for the small business community. In addition to that, we are going to have a former client or come in and offer free headshots, which is pretty cool. She has a mobile van and she'll be bringing it to the event, and she will offer free headshots to all the attendees. I know myself and my colleagues are very excited about the event. So please feel free to follow up with myself or with Kayla, and we'd be happy to sign you up for the event. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And like Kayla mentioned, I will probably pause after every other slide or so to see if there are any questions. Obviously, you can drop them in the chat, and then I will answer them as we go along. So we're all here for seasonal businesses. So since we do have a relatively small group, does everybody, just by a show of hands, does everybody already run a business that is affected by the change of the seasons, or, you know, see ebbs and flows with the changing of the calendar? Just by a show of hands, you can just raise your hand. Okay, RT Crafts, it looks like Tony also raised his hands. Okay, so you're already running this sort of business. So this is something, running a seasonal business is not something that's new to you. So let me advance if screen will let me see what's going on. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Just give a show of hands, or if Kayla, can you just let me know?
Yes, you are good to go.
Everybody can see that. Perfect. Thank you. So, a second. My screen is frozen for some reason. Speaking of technical difficulties, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, everybody, and then I'm going to start sharing again. Let's see if we can see why my computer is not cooperating. Just hang on one second. I'm still not doing it. All right, let me try another way. Sorry, folks. Sometimes technology is your friend, sometimes it's not. All right, let's try this way. There we go. Okay, so we're all here for seasonal businesses, which sounds like many of you are running already. So the old adage is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So the best way to manage any kind of business, including a seasonal business that some of y'all are running or plan on running, is to kind of find out, you know, what your potential expectations might be, what your busy season will look like versus, you know, kind of the shoulder season, the slower season, to kind of plan accordingly. So, you know, as a small business owner, fluctuations can seriously impact your cash flow, which is your bottom line, but also if you think about it as an entrepreneur, your day to day, how you expect to go into your business and what your daily kind of routine is going to look like, because obviously that, affects you as well. Your busy season, it's going to take up the majority of your time. So it's going to leave less time for you for, your family, things that you enjoy. Whereas in the shoulder season or in the slower seasons, it might allow you to pivot and do something else and spend more time on other things. So not only will it help you accommodate any changes in cash flow, it'll help you plan for your time moving forward. Okay. So off-season planning, I like to call it the start, stop, or continue. So you want to look at what happened last season. What went really well? Did you find that a certain product flew off the shelves, or a certain service that you might be offering was really in demand? So continue, keep doing that. But conversely, were there things that sat on the shelves, or were there services that people were not asking for? That would make you, give you some pause to help you figure out, okay, I should maybe stop doing that. Let me think about how I can alter that product or service, or maybe stop offering that service because it's not something that my clients are asking for, or that is in demand for whatever reason. The things that are going well, obviously keep doing them. Review your customer database. I hope most of you are already maintaining a customer database, whether you do an e-newsletter or just have a database of your clients where you can even mail out, the snail mail, the cards, so that people keep you at the forefront of their mind. Make sure all that information is current so that you can keep in touch with your clients or your customers. You might need new equipment, refresh the space. One thing I've noticed with some seasonal businesses, if they haven't been in their space for a long time, and the last time they may have been open could have been around the harvest season, Thanksgiving time, or the holiday season, and maybe they're thinking about reopening around now, springtime. And I'll walk into the space and the decor will be holiday decor. And they haven't really removed the lights or the wreaths or anything that would be indicative of the winter or holiday time. Make sure you remove that, so when clients come in, they're like, oh, wow, that's must have been a slow time because they still have, holiday things up, or there's still pumpkins out. So you want to make sure you refresh your space. And additionally, if you need any equipment, if any equipment is old and needs to be updated, make sure, you take inventory of that sort of thing and refresh it as needed. Pricing evaluations, going back to the start, stop, continue. If you found that people weren't asking for or purchasing any particular item or product, price it so that you can just get it off your shelves. And if there's other things that aren't moving, but you see that in the competitive marketplace, your competitor might be offering the same thing and it's moving for them, well, did you price it right? Maybe you priced it a little bit too high. So always keep an eye on what's going on in the marketplace to make sure your pricing is accurate and competitive with what's going on in your marketplace. Update your marketing materials. This is a little bit of a sticking point with me too, because I will see like clients that, are going into their busy season. They may not have updated their website from when, they were in the slow season, and perhaps they weren't open 7 days a week, or their hours weren't as extensive. Make sure you update that. Also update your signage. If you have a brick and mortar, update the signage on your front door in your actual space, so that people know when they can visit you and know that when you're available. And then basic attention to detail, signage, cleanliness, dress code for your employees. You want them to look the part. If you have an expectation of, wearing some sort of uniform, or if it's not a uniform, certain colors or style of clothing, make sure your employees adhere to that, because you're really selling your brand. And if your brand includes, having a certain kind of physical appearance that represents your brand, make sure that you and your clients are representing that appropriately. This is a big one too. I'm sure many of you look at your Google reviews, look at other user-generated sites like Yelp, Open Table for anybody that's in food service, any of those places where it's user-generated reviews, learn from them. We all love the positive reviews, but pay attention to the negative ones too, and respond to them kind of in a professional way. And if for whatever reason the customer felt like they were wrong, try to make it right so that you can get them back in. Not only would you be making it right for that customer or client, but the marketplace in general, anybody that's going to research you in the future sees like, wow, they really tried to make this right and wanted to make the customer come back and feel comfortable, and you really wanted to make their experience a good one. So always address the negative feedback as well. Okay. So this is the fun stuff. So this is the math. So this is your cash flow. This is why you're in business. The whole point is because you want to make money. Your cash flow is the lifeblood. So you want to understand your inflows or the income that's coming in, your sales that are coming in versus your outflows, your expenses that you're paying on a regular basis. Obviously, you want to minimize any expenses that, if you could cut corners with expenses, if you can, for example, I had a client, she had a brick and mortar store out east, and she would keep the air conditioning at like 65 degrees, which is extremely cold. And then, she would tell me that sometimes her employees would be like, it's way too cold in here, and they'd leave the door open. So I said, well, maybe think about, setting the AC to 69 or 72 degrees. So not only will your employees not literally let your air conditioning out the door, but then you'll save money on the cost of, the oil or the electric, whatever her AC was based on. So, thinking about things like that, but any kind of other expenses that you can figure out that you're spending way too much on it, it's out of whack with the other expenses that you have. Always evaluate it, take a look at it. I tell clients to look at their operating expenses every month, because if for whatever reason, like the air conditioning, it skyrocketed one month over the other, you want to figure out, okay, what's going on? If it's not really where it should be. Expanding sales into slow periods. We're going to get a little bit more into that, but you could expand sales into your slower periods by offering gift cards, by offering sales, by offering, personal shopping events for your very loyal customers. But we will get into that a little bit more later on in the presentation. And then for your expenses, for those of you that may be closed at for certain months out of the year, see if you can offer payment plans for your expenses, but also offer payment plans, for your clients, whether it's through gift cards or loyalty plans or anything like that. If you offer a service and you are, say, a fitness center or a gym, and where it might be a slower time over the winter months, maybe, and you don't have your Pilates studio and you don't have as many clients in the winter months because it's kind of a seasonal area, see if you can still have your clients spread out the income monthly, offer them a discount so you do have that income coming in January, February, March when things are a little bit slower. Most important, have a budget, stick through it throughout the year. You have trouble with your budget, come see us at the Small Business Development Center. We will be happy to assist you. Okay. So this is what a lot of entrepreneurs don't like to look at. They don't like to look at their profit and loss statement, and they'll tell me, Ree, I don't want to look at this. I'm just going to give it to my accountant. No, you should look at it, because numbers are numbers. They don't lie. They are what they are. So at the very top here, you're going to see your sales, from like retail sales for this example, and then your service-based sales. So it was the $14,000 for this good counseling business versus this person's expenses. Their rent was $3,000, electricity, internet, phone were remarkably low. This must not be based in Long Island. And then their web hosting. So they saw, that their total expenses were $3,300 versus their revenue was, a little bit over $14,000. So they saw that they were operating with a net income of almost $11,000. So they kind of know, okay, here are my expenses, here's my income. I'm doing very well here. So this is just a snapshot of 1 month. You want to look at this at the end of every month to make sure that your expenses aren't out of whack. But similarly, what's going on with your sales? Why was it slower in 1 month versus another? And how can we look at increasing? This is for a pool company. You want to know how much you're making spending each month. You also want to look at what the percentages each of those lines are in terms of your total revenue or your profit. So for this pool company, you saw that for their revenue, their new installations was $180,000, but the supplies that they might be providing to their ongoing clients and their maintenance service for their ongoing clients were a smaller percentage. So 90% of their income came from new installations, and smaller percentages, roughly 10%, came from supply and maintenance. So it kind of gives them an idea, okay, the meat is the installations, kind of the gravy is the ongoing supply and ongoing maintenance. Versus the cost of goods, the cost to purchase the supplies for the installs was about 50% of the cost of their operating costs, excuse me. And then the cost of goods for supplies was roughly 30%. So it gives them an idea of where their revenue is coming from versus where their costs are coming from. And again, this is something you should evaluate every month. If you have trouble, if like you get glassy-eyed kind of looking at these sort of statements, sit down. You don't have to sit down with your accountant, although you should at some point, but they will charge you. You can sit down with one of us so we can help you kind of make sense of these numbers to find out, okay, where can we make your expense? Let's see where you can cut your expenses potentially. Going back to my example with the air conditioning being way too high and the client eventually lowering and ended up saving like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars over the year. And then for your revenue, like how can we get your revenue to come up? For the pool company, obviously the new installations are going to be 90% of the revenue in April, because that's when people are putting pools in. Not a lot of people have their pools open in April. So the percentage for supplies and maintenance is going to be lower, but that percentage will likely go up in the months of June, July, August, September, when people's pools are open. So you want to make sure that you're keeping those ratios kind of in check. And you do that by looking at your profit and loss and any kind of accounting software that you have, whether it's through QuickBooks or even if you just use an Excel spreadsheet, make sure you keep tabs on it so you know things are kind of going along to plan. But then when things are not going along to plan, let's see how we can fix them. So kind of reviewing sources of income, sort of went over that stuff later, keeping an eye on what the cost of goods will look like and different source of revenue streams. I'm going to pause here for a minute, and Kayla, if you can just let me know if there's any questions.
Nothing so far. I'm keeping an eye on it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll keep going. Okay. And any adjustments, like I'd mentioned, that need to be made. Were there any unexpected expenses? Sometimes there are things that you don't expect, like you may have problems with your heating system, or you may have an unexpected repair that you may need to take care of. It's always good to keep a little bit of money in reserve for any kind of emergency that might come up. So think about keeping tabs on those too. So here's the kind of month to month. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But by looking at these over the months, so from April to May, this is for the pool company, you saw that the revenue from the new installations went down significantly. But the income that came from supplies and maintenance did go up, but total revenue went down, because obviously revenue from installing a pool is going to be much higher than revenue from standard supply or maintenance services. So, you know, the pool company, by looking at this, is kind of able to analyze and say, okay, well, maybe I need to get some more clients for maintenance, or maybe I need to make myself more available, not just for residential pools, but commercial pools. So what can I do to get my revenue to increase more steadily throughout the year, not only in the months when I'm installing pools? This is why this exercise is so, so important. Okay. So the pivot, you know, we've all heard about, you know, pivoting to things that may not traditionally have been part of a service or product that you offer in your business. So you want to check in with your customers to see, you know, what kind of services they may require of you in the off season. Some of the traditional ones that we have seen at the Small Business Development Center, I've worked with a number of landscapers that got into snow removal. I have a landscaper that I worked with about 10 years ago. Almost 50% of his business now comes from putting up holiday lights on people's homes. Way more than he was making doing landscaping from like April to like October. He became known as kind of the holiday purveyor of beautiful holiday lights on homes, on landscaping, on trees. He's branched into doing commercial work as well. So sometimes when you pivot, you'll be surprised by what new markets you'll enter into and how successful that can be for you. I had a garden center that I worked with that traditionally, you know, kind of closed down after Thanksgiving time, but they pivoted and offered like a winter wonderland and offered like experiences with the snowmen and holiday time, and they would have hot chocolate, and they would have stuff for the kids for roasting marshmallows. So they turned it in kind of a winter wonderland where people could take advantage of the cold and the space that they had. They actually used the corn. It had a little corn maze in the back of it, and they utilized it to kind of make it a winter wonderland for the kids. And at the end would have all kinds of holiday treats and hot chocolate. And this traditionally would have been a time where they weren't even open. So by that pivot, they were able to get some extra income coming to the business that wasn't there at all. Ice cream shops offering soups, baked goods, chili, and then restaurants for those of you that may be in food service in what's traditionally a seasonal area on the East End, although the East End is changing and it's becoming a much more year-round destination. Offer rewards cards, price fixed specials during your slower month. You know, sell discounted gift cards in the off season so that when times are busier, your clients can use it, but then you get revenue in the times that are a little bit slower. So these are some examples of how these businesses have pivoted to get income in what was traditionally their shoulder or their slower season. Okay, before we get into staffing, just going to pause again, Kayla, to see if there's any questions.
No, I don't see any yet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So for hiring and staffing, so, you know, your seasonal business, your demands for your employees or staff, they're not going to be consistent. So keep an eye on that. You don't necessarily want to have the same number of employees that you might have when demand is high in June, July, and August that you would have in, you know, January, February, March. So if you need to make adjustments to that, you need to make adjustments to that. Sometimes in seasons, in your slower season, in your shoulder season, your only employee might be yourself, and that's okay. If you're looking for when times are a little bit busier, think about, you know, hiring, you know, younger folks, whether it's local high school students, college students, when they're typically on vacation in your high season, during peak summer times when they're looking for jobs, and they happen to be home in your busy season. Additionally, in your slower time, this is a good time to sit down and reflect and look at your inventory, maybe clean up your space, refresh your space, take a look at your website, take a look if you do any kind of selling on your website, make sure that's current, make sure any products that you were not able to sell in your brick and mortar, get those on your website so you can price them to sell and move them so you don't have to bring them back in when you come back into your busy season. Another source of labor that a lot of folks don't think of is retirees who may retire. Some people are retiring younger and younger. They're retiring in their 50s and they don't totally want to leave the labor force. So think about hiring folks that maybe were in a different career and looking to work part-time. So you can look into AARP for retired folks to see, you know, if they have any job boards or something like that. Indeed is a traditional site where people are looking to, where people post jobs or folks that are looking to get into the labor force. Suffolk County Department of Labor also offers some resources, as well as the New York State Department of Labor. And then your local job boards which are based, community-based on your local patch, which is a local online newsletter/newspaper. Okay, so strategies for hiring seasonal employees. Obviously, make sure your job descriptions are accurate and very up to date. Don't use the one from last year. I've had clients that'll kind of rinse and repeat, their descriptions from last year, and it'll show a start date that would be the prior year. Keep an eye on what the market rates are for the wages for folks, and make sure you're not showing wages from like 3-4 years ago, because that could turn off potential employees. So make sure those are up to date. Make sure the candidates that you're looking for only want seasonal work, that they're not necessarily looking for something year round. So this goes back to maybe the retirees want to spend some, time to make extra money just in the summer months and don't want to work around holiday time. The college and high school students who have a lot of time off because they're not in school. Dedicate resources to onboarding and training. Don't just assume, it's going to be baptism by fire and your new employee is going to come in and do really well. Make sure, even if you have a manual, even if it's a rough manual that you write down in a piece of paper, that there's expectations that'll make things a lot easier for you and much easier for them. Obviously, you want to hire pleasant, dependable employees who do have some flexibility. If in your busy season, you might have an employee that may not want to work on a weekend, but that might be something that's required. Make sure that those expectations are set out at the onset of when you hire them, and indicate whether if people aren't flexible, that might not be the right individual for you. Reward loyalty. Your clients will like that too, because they'll like to see that, Reed came back this year. We like to see the same person, because the people that are loyal to you, they're loyal to your brand, they're loyal to your business, and they get to know your customers. Your customers come in and have those expectations of having that same kind of service and seeing the same people. So obviously reward those folks as well. Put them in your regular HR platform. So, whatever, with your onboarding, if you're using Paychecks or another payroll service, make sure you put them on your regular HR platform, rather than kind of doing it informally, or perhaps just paying them off the side in cash. You want to get them onboarded properly and legally, and this way you can make sure they're accounted for come tax time as well, because you'll have that line item for payroll and then payroll taxes. So you don't want to cut corners. You want to make sure you do this the right way, in the legal way. Consider rewarding Steel. So I sort of mentioned that already. So any questions so far, Kayla?
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Nope, not yet.
No, it's okay.
I'll let you know
All
if
right.
there is.
No problem. We're sort of like going through this pretty quickly here. So inventory and sales. So I mentioned this a little bit. You don't necessarily want to keep your money tied up in seasonal inventory and sales that sit around until the following season. Recoup that money, sell it. Sell it for cost. You may even have to sell it at a loss. But the lesson learned here is back to the start. Stop. Continue. Stop selling that next year if you're finding it's not moving for whatever reason. Get it out, whether you get it out at the very end of that season for a deep discount, or put it on your website and make sure you can get rid of it, because you don't want to have stale merchandise coming back in to the new season. Okay, I mentioned that already. You want inventory obviously as close to zero before the end of the season. You don't want it necessarily sitting around and getting stale. Yeah, you're obviously not going to see the same volume of sales during the peak season. But at least if, you can get rid of, things that didn't move in the high season, kind of when you're going to the low season, you still have additional income coming in when things are a little bit slower. Okay. Marketing and promoting, in the off season. So I want to talk a little bit briefly about, the difference between, this is not in here, but I just want to mention this. I want to talk briefly about the difference between your customers and your end users. So your customers are the individuals or groups or businesses that pay for your services. Your end users are who uses them. So the traditional example I like to use, and this may be dating myself a little bit, but when I was growing up in the 80s, traditionally cartoons were only on television on like Saturday mornings. We didn't have like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network or anything like that. So cartoons would be on Saturday mornings because kids would be off school and we'd be watching television, Saturday mornings. So the types of advertising that would be on Saturday morning cartoons were traditionally for fast food, candy, sugary cereals, toys, games, things like that. Now the goal with that was, the end users were the children watching, the television shows, but they weren't the customers. The customers were their parents. So this is an example of how you would market to the end users in addition to the customers. So you want to make sure that your end users, who are not necessarily the same group of people as your customers, but that they're exposed. So when you're marketing and promoting yourself, you want to make sure that your customers see it, but that your end users see it too. Because the end user, going back to the Saturday morning cartoon example, the end users would, the advertising would shape my preferences to be like, oh, I have to have these Legos, or I have to have this McDonald's Happy Meal. Mom, Dad, I really want this. But how do you market to mom and dad? So you think about marketing to, mom and dad while the kids were watching Saturday morning cartoons, maybe would have been reading the newspaper, or they're driving by in their car in McDonald's. Kids don't drive, and they'd see Happy Meal, whatever it was in the 80s, I don't know, $2.99, $3.99, whatever it was. So the kid, and then the parent sees it. Oh, I remember my kid talking about this. I need to take them to get a Happy Meal. Or, oh, my kid told me the Legos were on sale at Target, or, wherever it was. I'm seeing it in a circular in a newspaper, or I'm seeing it when I'm in Target on a billboard, or whenever I walk into Target and see all the specials. So this isn't a case of where you want to market both to the end users and the customers, because again, they're not always the same. So as you're marketing and promoting yourself, make sure you think about that. So you want to stay on the top of the mind of your customers. You want to be proactive. And you want people to get excited about the busy season coming up. So how do you do that? Make sure you're consistent on your social media, so that people, your followers, see it. For those of you that are just starting out, follow them back, follow your customers back, encourage them to repost as well, and share, because people feel good about it. They're like, oh, I love this restaurant. They follow me back. They really appreciate me as a customer. You can also run specials or contests where you can say, hey, on Instagram, follow my page, share this in your stories, tag a friend. This is a way to increase your viability, and amplify your presence on social media. These are kind of promotions that are talking about. Maybe have special events on slower days, whether it's Mondays or Monday nights, Tuesday nights. Have special events. I have some food service businesses over the winter. They would do like different game nights. They would have trivia nights. They'd have karaoke that traditionally people, probably wouldn't come in when they found out, oh, there's trivia and there's contests, and, I can get, meals for half the price. Yeah, but you're getting people that are coming in and you're creating a buzz. So you could think about how you're going to be creative with marketing and promoting. Frequent customer rewards, went over that. Building a customer database. So if you have a customer database and you send out an e-newsletter before the season gets really busy, send them, a small incentive, for example, like 10% off. If doing the email newsletters is too much, you could use like a third party email service that, you pay them and they will send your newsletter based on whatever dates work for you. Don't do it too much to the point where people see you in their inbox a few times a month. Once or twice a month, is good. You don't want them to, oh, here comes ABC Pool Company again. Yeah, I saw this before. This is like too much. So, once to twice a month, unless it's something that's timely. If you have a special event coming on, obviously include that. But you want, when people see it, be like, oh, I got an email from this. Let me see what's going on with them. Call to action, that would be something like the 10% off. It's a way to incentivize your client or your customer to respond to you within a certain amount of time. So that may be a discount. And when you do that, offer that call to action, make sure you always give an expiration date. So say, for example, we'll stick with ABC Pool Company. If you schedule your pool opening by, my pool company actually did this, and I got it in the mail just a couple days ago. If you schedule your pool opening by April 15th, you'll get 20% off. So I may not want to open my pool till June 1st, but if I schedule it by April 15th, I'm going to get 20% off. So that's the call to action for me as a customer. That increases engagement, that gets me on the schedule, and that, by the way, I would have to prepay that. So that gets them money coming in by April 15th that what they would not have had otherwise. Staying in touch with your customers, obviously year round, you want them to think about you even when they may not necessarily be walking into your doors or utilizing your services. Using my example here, if you were in a Christmas themed business, start building anticipation for the upcoming season, September, October. I even have clients that Christmas themed businesses, they'll do like a Christmas in July special so that people are thinking, okay, you know, Christmas and the holiday time is only, you know, 5-6 months away. You want to keep them, your clients, you want to keep your business at the forefront of their mind. So at the outset, I talked about, you know, your business not only being different at different times a year, you're also going to feel different at different times a year. You're going to be probably feeling more stress in the busy time versus the slower time, or maybe you may feel more stress in the slower time because you're worried about how income is not flowing as steadily as may have been flowing in the busier season. So you want to think about how you manage your stress during peak seasons. Find ways to make sure you feel calm, you feel good, you feel okay, and lean on your staff to kind of help you with it. If it's too much and you need to step away, you need to take, you know, half a day off or a day off, it's okay, because a burnt out entrepreneur is not good for anybody. It's not good for you, first and foremost. It's not good for your staff. It's not good for your customers. Managing stress, talked about that a little bit. Talking about delegating, if you need to hire more staff or leaning on your staff, you can do that. Sometimes it's we talk about a lot about mindfulness and mindset change. One thing I talk a lot about with my clients who do have seasonal businesses is they'll say, you know, I'm like, how's it going? It's really stressful. I'm so busy. And then I said, well, would you feel different if you sat in your store and nobody walked in? And then it gives them pause. They said, no, that would cause me more stress. So it's almost like a be careful what you wish for scenario. So you want to make sure that people can kind of appreciate what they have versus what that may be making them feel like. So the mindset switch can help a lot. Seasonal fluctuation, we talked about, you know, the stress factors on running a business, and it's very normal. It's something that every entrepreneur deals with that's running a seasonal type of business. But again, we at the Small Business Development Center are here to kind of mitigate the ways that, you know, the slow season would be really slow. So we're looking again for that pivot and finding ways to help you manage your stress and get more income kind of in the slower times. Give yourself a break. Plan ahead for that break. You got through the very busy season, whether it's a vacation or a breather, or even in quiet times during the busy time, just getting out, taking a walk, getting some fresh air, whatever it is that helps you find a way to de-escalate, you know, a stressful situation and find pause and reset yourself. Do it. You deserve it. Okay, so getting back to, are you ready to get into the busy season? We talked about signage. Make sure it's current, looks good, it's accurate. Going back to the numbers, look at your capital and cash flow. Going back to unexpected expenses, make sure you have some working capital set aside for if something, God forbid, goes wrong. 2 months expenses set up at the outset is an absolute minimum. If you have more than that, even better. Refresh your space. We talked about it. Make it look good. And for those of you that have a brick and mortar, make sure the bathroom looks okay. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to not just business owners, but customers. They'll say, I love the space, but I want to use the bathroom in this restaurant. It was horrible. It makes me think about what the kitchen looks like. Think about it. You want to make sure, you know, if every aspect of your business looks okay. Make sure your website's current, easy to navigate. If you have e-tailing, you want to make sure it's pretty seamless, a way for people to add to the cart and get the items to their home. For those of you that are local and have local customers, always offer free pickup because also it gets people in the door and they might want to shop even more. Something else to consider. social media, talking about utilizing social media. Again, remember thinking about the customers versus the end users. Make sure your branding is consistent, whatever your brand is, your logo, your use of color, the font that's used. Make sure it's consistent because the most powerful brands in the world, you don't even necessarily have to see the name of the brand. Brands like Apple, McDonald's, Target, you don't even see the name of the company. You just see that logo and it's instantly recognizable. You want to think about doing the same thing for your brand. On average, it takes 7 times for a consumer to see a logo with brand name before they associate it with who you are. And, the mind is very powerful. So make sure once you have that brand, something that you like, the logo, font, use of color, stick to it. And make sure it's ubiquitous on everything, your letterhead, your signage, your social media, logos. Promotions, we talked about a little bit already. Staffing, make sure you have enough. You're obviously going to see what your payroll expenses for your staff is going to look like because you're going to evaluate your profit and loss at the end of every month. Training staff, start with smiles. You want to find, friendly people that are engaging, that have good sets with good assets as customer service professionals. Think about joining your local business groups, which might include your Chamber of Commerce in your town or the town surrounding you, so that other business owners know that you're there and that, what products and or services that you offer, so they can, promote you within their own circles as well. And that is it. So please let me know, Kayla, if there's any questions, but it was a small group and we did get through it in a little bit less than an hour. But as I said at the outset of the workshop, I am here until 10:30. If anybody has questions or comments or what's going on in their own business and want some feedback, we are also here to work with you one-on-one. To set up an appointment. You'll see our email and our phone number there. So please, by all means, feel free to ask questions.
Someone asked, since the workshop is for starting a seasonal business too, is the SBDC providing support for the starting part in terms of knowing what paperwork needed to start a business? Tax, do we need to register a company for a seasonal business?
Yes, we can absolutely help with that. Make an appointment and we'll walk you through it.
Want to see, are there any last questions before we wrap it up? Feel free to speak as well. You don't have to send.
Yeah, you can. I'm gonna actually stop sharing.
Yeah.
So I can see everybody now. Also, I will make this workshop available to anybody. Kayla, I can email it to you, and then you can email it to anybody who would like it.
Okay, yeah, that's great. We also will post the recording on our website.
Perfect.
It usually takes about a week or so, but once I get the recording after the meeting, we'll start doing that. So it'll be available.
Perfect. So I will email it to Kayla, and Kayla is the one who does the intake for the workshop. So I'll go ahead and email it to her. And then if anybody would like it, they can email Kayla and she'll send it on over to you. Probably they have them email the SBDC.
Yeah, that's fine. Or my personal Stony Brook email, that's fine too. Either or. That's the one linked on the registration, I believe.
Terrific. I hope everybody enjoyed the workshop. This was a nice small group. Any other questions? I want to make sure that I covered everything, any kind of questions you might have had before you came in today.
Hi, yeah, thanks so much for the workshop. It's very informative.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I was just curious, like since I got this workshop information through Stony Brook, and I know Stony Brook and SBDC are very tight. I just want to know, like, is it common for Stony Brook employee to also do this as a, I guess we can call it like a side gig, right? Because like technically we are already employed by Stony Brook, and I know they have some rules about if we, like, for example, get employed by other people, like you can only do it for a certain percentage. So I'm just curious, like if we connect with SBDC, like would you guys have some advice for us in terms of stuff like that?
That's a great question. So as Stony Brook employees, we like myself, Kayla, and my other colleagues, we have to offer disclosures if we do get employment outside of Stony Brook University. So that's going to depend on your contract with your department, who you're working with, what the expectations are and what the disclosures are. So if you have any questions about that, what I would encourage you to do is to look at your HR paperwork when you were hired. And if you have any questions, to contact HR to see what would be required of you.
Oh, okay, I see. Thank you.
But is it common for people to have other jobs? Sure.
Yeah. I just want to know if you guys have experience with faculty, for example. Yeah, because like some of the stuff that we do, as you know, you might have. I mean, as you mentioned, right, with the HR and like how what the clause is. I know in terms of the research work that we do, that can be licensed out. Those are very specific, listed, right? But then like for something like maybe things that we do as a hobby, not really things that we do because the job here, for example, right?
Yep.
Like then
So-
I wonder how they count that.
So the things that you do within your own field, if you're doing it within your own field and you do any of it on Stony Brook University property using Stony Brook University facilities, that's when things get very hairy.
Yes.
Because they're going to try to take ownership over that. But if you're a research scientist and let's say you do flower arranging on your own time,
sure.
off premise, way easier to disclose something like that.
Okay, but we would still be able to get support from SBDC.
Oh,
even
of course. Absolutely.
Okay, got you.
Absolutely. But as far as your requirements for your job, double check with HR as to, what is allowable and you will have to disclose everything. Anything that, you get paid for outside of Stony Brook University, they do ask for disclosures. In fact, I just signed mine 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
My disclosure or non-disclosure.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything, you have to either non-disclose or disclose.
Yeah, I'll make an appointment with you guys because my
Perfect.
situation might be a little bit complicated that we want to do something with students, and I guess that would make it even more
Potentially.
intricate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, all right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and log off. I wish all of you a wonderful, busy upcoming season in your businesses. And as I mentioned before, I am going to go ahead and email the workshop to my colleague, Kayla. And if anybody like it, she'll email it to you. And the workshop presentation will go online, Kayla, you said in about a week?
Yeah, usually takes about a week.
Okay, perfect. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm going to let you all enjoy your Thursday. Thank you for joining me this morning, and do not hesitate to reach out to us here at the SBDC. We're here to help you make your small businesses as successful as possible.
Okay. Thank
Take care.
you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Kayla, for helping me.
No problem. All right.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
Bye-bye.